Welcome back, everyone, once again to a new installment of Screenplay Rewind. I'm Jeff,
I'm Ron.
and I like how even when we record early, we record late.
Oh my god. It's
'Cause
one thing after the other.
We were supposed to record this Saturday. We had like a plan, and then Ron didn't watch the movie.
Yep.
And then we were supposed to watch it. Record about it Sunday, and I was like, I don't fucking feel like it. And then there you have it, recording Monday.
And then here we are Monday. But it's not Friday night at like midnight.
Yeah, you don't have to like stay up till 4 a.m. editing this, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
So we just gotta aim for Saturday, and then it might be done by Monday or Tuesday if we're lucky. So yeah. Well, you're welcome, Ron.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it my
How's it been
birthday?
going?
You shouldn't have. It's going good. Just tired, busy, trying to get the house all picked up. We got a relative of Christina's dropping by on Wednesday for a little bit, so trying to get the house squared away for that. And then if you guys are coming over on Saturday, the house is already taken care of.
Nice. I'm gonna come over and trash it like I do.
I need to trash some Dark Souls is what we need to do.
No, Christina and Aurora do 2 drunk souls. See, that's material right there. That's content.
You got to get Aurora to drink first.
We'll figure something out.
We'll figure it out. Oh man, I need more microphones. Is what I need. They can just be on the couch making fun of us as we are trying to do a randomizer or something on a live stream.
It is also S tier content.
Yes.
People would much rather listen to them talk than us. I can confirm
Absolutely.
that much.
I can confirm that too. Anytime Chris was on my streams, people were a lot more interested in her than me.
Yeah, like, if people actually, like, could watch us be idiots, but then not have to listen to us and listen to them, just 10 out of 10 upgrade. No downsides.
My channel, since I've quit making content, is more popular than ever. And I'm getting comments from like actual human beings, some of them asking questions and some of them being like, this channel's criminally underrated. This guy's super chill. And I'm just like, where were you people when I was recording regularly?
Are you dabbling back into it because of that, or are you still kind of like letting it stay retired?
I've been wanting to do it again since I've been taking antidepressants. I've been wanting to get into it again, but I'm waiting till I find a job and I find out what my work schedule's like and how I can fit it in.
I'm sure you could do like at least one video a week.
Yeah, I could probably
you
do
could
that.
You could do something.
I could do something. I could probably also just do like on a Saturday night, like 2 or 3 of them too. If it's the same game.
Just do like a batch recording, like get 2 or 3 like 30-minute uploads or something. Like you could do something. You could do something easily. You're going to be playing a game at some point anyway.
Yeah, that's why I did it for so long with no one watching. It's not like it changed anything. It's just my internal monologue out loud. Like it's so
you'll always have Bobby.
Yep, there will always be Bobby.
The fucking goat.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've been thinking about it. I'm still debating on videos or like just a live stream once a week or something. I don't know. And
I'm always down to participate in the nonsense and embarrass myself on any of the aforementioned Souls-born games, which I used to be decent at and now I'm absolute trash at. So that's always fun.
I've been hearing about so much Lovecraftian stuff and all the Lovecraftian games coming up and stuff. I've been really itching for some Bloodborne.
I have been watching through Lobos Jr.'s full playthrough for the first time of Liza P.
Oh yeah,
because I really like the demo for Liza P, but I have just never wanted to like sit down and spend 6 hours getting my ass handed to me by a boss. I haven't had that itch yet, so I've been watching him play it. Dude, I think Liza P is better than like almost all of the recent actual Dark Souls games. Like I have liked what I've seen from Liza P. Like because it adapted the parry system, like the reflex system from Sekiro, And it looks so much more satisfying in Lies of P than it ever did or like feel in Sekiro. So I'm just like,
Not only that, they
man.
did an original take on the Bloodborne trick weapons, because you can mix and match like the handles and the weapon ends and stuff to get different attributes and abilities on your weapon.
And what I appreciate about that game is it never feels overwhelming like a lot of the Souls likes are. Like a lot of them will try to implement their own shit and it's like overly complex. But the Lies of P stuff seems like intricate, but not. I need like a college degree to figure out what the fuck I'm doing.
You should
And
look up a game called Slitterhead that just came out.
Slitterhead. What is that one?
I'm not quite sure. Basically, it's a little bit of everything you've ever seen kind of meshed together. It's a little Soulsian. It's got a couple of Spider-Man mechanics. It's a story-heavy first-player like action game. You are an entity that changes from body to body to body. You can't live outside of a human body, and you just take over people.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally you run into these special people that have like special abilities that their abilities wake up when you enter them. So you get these different characters that work as different vessels that have different powers and fight different ways, fighting these monsters called Slitterheads. That their head splits open into this like the Thing kind of monster, because they eat people. They stab them through the eye and suck their brains out.
Nice.
And you're fighting those, and it's like you're using blood powers. So like your blood will come out of your body and form a weapon and things
That's
like
pretty cool.
that. You can drain your own blood using your powers, but you can also absorb blood from nearby people or use blood to heal nearby people. And it's like, if you're getting your ass kicked, you just switch to a different body, like things like that. It's really interesting, but
That
it's
sounds
called,
really cool.
yeah, they played it on Rage Select. It was Jeff and Chris Cox from One of Us. They did 2 parts on it. It looked really cool. I quit looking at anything on it and immediately wishlisted it.
So you could play it.
Yeah, it looked really good, and it's got a really interesting story going on. The name is a little weird, but it's like it's a little Resident Evil-y with its cutscenes. Like there was even a part where when this one character shows up, Chris Cox is like, "And here comes our Capcom character," and I was just like, "Yeah, thank you."
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sounds pretty cool.
yeah, like you literally can launch your blood up to grapple onto something and pull yourself up like Spider-Man onto like rooftops
Mhm.
and stuff. It's really neat.
I think the next thing I'm like legitimately looking forward to is if they ever decide to release that Wolverine video game, because
Oh god,
I'm all about their take on a Wolverine game.
I want it so bad.
But it feels like ever since that leak happened, they're not talking about it at all. It's
Yeah,
really weird.
I really thought there was gonna be something at the Game Awards. I was really surprised we didn't get anything.
It feels like there should be more content about it now, but it's weird. I don't know if, I mean, maybe it got delayed because every fucking company decides to lay off 3/4 their staff for no reason, even though they're making billions of dollars. But what do I know?
But yeah, the video game industry is contracting. It blew up really big during COVID and stuff. And then I guess they thought that momentum would go forever, so they hired a bunch of people and ramped up a bunch of projects and opened a bunch of studios, and then that ended. So everything is contracting, people are getting laid off, studios are getting shut down and bought out, and all kinds of stuff. Like
That is the nice thing about FromSoft is like I have been on record as not liking the trajectory of a lot of their games over the last several years, but all of their employees stay on staff for multiple decades at a time. They retain pretty much everyone and they give them bonuses and like raises constantly. So it actually seems like a well-constructed company, which I appreciate, when most of them are just shit shows and it's depressing to even like hear about.
Miyazaki cuts his own pay to avoid doing layoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, things like that. It's FromSoft is an interesting company, especially Japanese, right? It's a Japanese company.
I believe so.
Because it's like you always hear the horror stories of like how Japanese companies treat their employees. Like people basically chained to a desk,
like
or
what Konami did.
the Nazis.
The fucking Nazis, dude.
Yeah,
fucking
doing
worst.
that, or like you messed up, so now instead of being the lead director on this video game, you're now the janitor and you're going to scrub a bunch of toilets for a few years. Like, they do shit like that.
They actually do. Like, it sounds like he's
crazy.
joking, but he's not joking. They've literally done shit like that.
And then like
So-
FromSoft just, I don't know, doesn't. Like, it's really weird.
Yeah.
Like, they're the weird company.
Yeah, they're the weird company. They actually treat their employees with respect as human beings. And shockingly, the talented people that make good games, if you don't fire them, wait for it, are there to continue producing good work on good games.
What a concept.
It's crazy. But no, let's just fucking fire everyone because our CEO needs to have a slightly bigger yacht. And yeah.
Hey, did you hear what's happening over at HBO Max?
What the fuck is happening now?
Did you hear what's next on the chopping block potentially?
No.
Could you imagine being the guy that in every news headline killed Sesame Street?
Are you serious? That's the thing?
It's up for being cut because it doesn't make them money and no one watches or
Fuck
something.
you, man.
Could you imagine being the guy that killed Sesame Street? Would you want to be that guy?
Well, he would be hunted down and then strangled with like an elbow puppet. I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, I was just like, oh come on. Every company has like a good faith thing. Just keep it going. It's good.
That's the thing. Everything has to be a product to
number must go
print.
up.
Everything has to be a product that prints money. It can't just be a product that exists and is like important for the company or like beneficial to the world or beneficial to little kids that need, you know, like a moral compass and the fucking Sesame Street characters. But no, because we're not making enough money, we're gonna just shut it down. God damn it. Oh, we gotta get off this topic. I will be ranting and raving because it makes me so fucking mad.
I broke Jeff.
That's one of the reasons I've stopped playing video games as much, just because every time I just read Twitter posts about all the people that are getting fucking fired, it just makes my blood boil, dude. Just like fuck off. It's like, oh, our fucking. The thing about it too is like usually when they're getting fired, it's not like there are instances where if a game just like there have been a few games over the last few years that have just absolutely shit the bed. And that makes sense. Like if you expected the game to be a decent success,
Concord,
and if something has like no active users, I get it. But the problem is like the majority of these stories about all these studios getting shut down, it's because their game only produced like 20% profit over the millions and millions of dollars of, you know, like it was still profitable. It just wasn't a astronomical hit. Like this game didn't make as much money as GTA 5 did, therefore fire everybody. Like, fuck yourself, dude. Like, if the thing is profitable and is making you money, that's not a bad thing. It didn't need to be an astronomical hit. Like, not everything needs to be this massive fucking hit just to actually consider keeping the fucking studio afloat.
Words
it makes me so mad, dude. Because you know it's all about some fucking jackass CEO who didn't contribute shit to the game, you know, didn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
And
speaking of, Rocksteady Studios is next on the chopping block too, but they're gonna make one more game, and rumor has it it's a new Batman Arkham game.
I feel like that is a company going under that would actually make sense to me because it just feels like they have been
none of their fault. They made the games they were forced to make. That fucking what was the Bat Family one? Justice League kills Gotham Knights and Justice League kills the Suicide Squad. All those games like they were forced to make by WB.
Which is also really fucking weird too, because it's like
now, the game you made sucked and didn't sell, so we're gonna shut you down. It's like we only made that because you said to.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're being given one more chance, and rumor has it we might be getting a new Arkham game.
Like I would be interested in a new Arkham game if it looked good, but at this point, I also just have a hard time believing that it's going to be of good quality because they have just been kind of shoehorned into all of these productions for like Jesus Christ, Arkham Knight was like 10 years ago.
I know.
And they've released what 2 games in 10 years, and both of them took a long time to come out, and both of them were kind of ass. So it's like yeah, they were forced to make them, but also it's like you can kind of tell they were phoning it in to an extent. So it's a weird situation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want people to lose their jobs, but also like those games looked so bad. I don't know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I just thought I would throw that out there. But just imagine being known forever as the guy that killed Sesame Street was the point I was making with that.
Yeah, fucking crazy, dude.
Did you imagine being that guy?
I hate that that's even a
Being
topic
talked
we
about.
have to like a topic we have to discuss. It's really depressing. Even if it never happened, just the fact that it was discussed means mankind we got to be nuked from orbit. It's the only way to be sure, dude. We almost took out Sesame Street. It's time to go.
Right.
But before we do our movie coverage, every week we have a Q&A section where we discuss all the questions and comments left on our email and our YouTube comment section. So, Ron, why don't you kick us off with our comment that we got?
Our comment we got is correct because we have one. It's from the ever enigmatic intern, producer, executive Bobby / goat. He left this on Sisu, and he said, "Please, I didn't watch this movie. I lived it." Because we were like, Bobby, if you have not seen this movie, you need to see this movie. Yes.
Also, on whichever platform, like I don't know if you're on the app or like on your computer, do you see the link at the end of his comment?
There's a link?
Yeah, it's really funny. I don't know if it's like just a thing with the mobile app, but it created a random link at the ending of Bobby's comment, and I don't know why, because it's really funny. If you click on the link, it is like a hyperlink of the I lived it part, and I don't think this was intentional at all, because if you click it, it takes you to the Blake Shelton I lived it official music video.
What?
And I don't know if he intentionally did that or if like there's some like fucking like a YouTube like hyperlink sorcery happened by accident. But yeah.
Okay, in the YouTube Studio app, that's not a thing, and on the website, that's not a thing. Let me load up. It's not that I don't believe you. I want to see this.
Yeah, on your phone, it's there because it's there for me, and I clicked it, and because I was like, why is there a link on here? And it took me to the Blake Shelton I lived it music video, and it's just really funny to me that happened.
Hang on, let me see. Don't know.
So either Bobby is just a huge Blake Shelton fan, or the YouTube algorithm like really wants people to be looking up this music video.
Let me see. I'm trying to figure out how to navigate this app. I don't use it that much. Comments 1. Oh my god. And it has a little magnifying glass next to it.
Yeah, why would that only be on the app too? Which is weird. That's why I think it's like a sorcery thing. Like he didn't actually intend it to happen. Isn't that weird?
There he is, Blake Shelton.
Blake Shelton.
Huh. Yep. Bizarre.
Bobby, next on this upload, I need you to confirm for me if this was intentional or not.
That
I'm
is
just curious.
Bizarre. I've
really
never
funny.
seen that. Yeah, it's not on the web, and it's not on the YouTube Studio app.
I am now just, by the way, making sure to remove the Blake Shelton I lived it music video from my watch history so that I never have Blake Shelton recommended to me in the future.
Do you think that's how Gwen Stefani feels?
Probably.
Are they still together?
I have no idea.
Because I was kind of like, I hate both of you when they were together.
You deserve each other.
Like, what? They live in Oklahoma?
Do they really?
Apparently.
Why would you live in Oklahoma by choice?
Why would you be Gwen Stefani and live in Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Also, I've never run into her in Walmart. Why?
Well, if you'd gotten that handing out advertisements job at Walmart, maybe you would have ran into her. You could have given her the little flyer thing.
There's only 2 places. It's gonna be the Oklahoma City area or the Tulsa area. That's the only 2 places they're gonna be.
Yeah, it's the only 2 places of civilization in this whole of a state. But by the way, like on topic with that, I found out something interesting. Do you remember the Echo show on Disney Plus that was the like tie-in with the Hawkeye show? Did you know Echo takes place in Oklahoma?
Excuse me?
Yeah, I found that out tonight because I've been watching it because it is referenced in the new Daredevil season of Born Again or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I should go back and watch that Echo show, just in case there's any like carryovers. It takes place in an actual city in Oklahoma.
Weird.
Which is weird because it's like where she grew up. She like goes back to her hometown. And I was like, there's an MCU show that takes place in fucking Oklahoma. I was like, what fucking alternate reality did I walk into?
That Ghostbusters movie I want you to watch takes place in Oklahoma too.
So I think it's just because it's an abstract place, that just exists in people's minds, and it's
mainly like a wheat field or a cornfield in that movie too. I was like, that's about right.
It's honestly just cheap sets, because they can just like drive out to the middle of nowhere, Kansas, and then it'll just be super cheap to film on, and then it just passes
Did
for
you
Oklahoma.
say that because of Courage the Cowardly Dog? Nowhere, Kansas.
I did not, but you're welcome.
I think you did subconsciously.
It probably was a subliminal callback to Courage because I do love Courage. I wasn't intentional.
Yeah, one of my favorite pieces of movie trivia is Twister. It's set in Oklahoma, but all the road signs along the highways are Texas because it was shot in Texas.
It's also really funny when people don't do their homework on stuff based in Oklahoma, and all the cars have the front plates, even though like we're only legally required to have the back plates. It's always like it's a detail that like it is not relevant even in the slightest because who the fuck gives a shit? But my brain always reacts to it because I just notice it.
Yeah, I'm
I can't
always
help
like,
myself.
well, you're in California.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell, we don't even have license plates here half the time.
Right.
What do we watch, Jeff?
Well, just by the way, if you have a question or comment outside of, I do need to know if Bobby intended to have the Blake Shelton link in the comments because that's gonna bother me if I don't find out. So please comment.
What did we watch, Jeff?
We watched.
I missed a line in my script.
Are you giving me the hi-hat, Ron? We are going to be covering a little throwback noir film called Miller's Crossing by the Coen brothers, which everyone seems to really like, and I don't get it because I didn't really care for this movie. I thought it was kind of boring. I thought it was kind of boring. I didn't hate it. I just thought it was a bit boring.
I like it. It's interesting, but it left me kind of confused.
It leaves a lot. I wonder if like maybe it is just it seems tailor made for people that are obsessed with these old style gangster movies,
right?
Like it feels like a legitimate throwback in the way that like is cheeky because that's kind of the genre, but it feels like if you grew up on gangster movies, like you eat the shit up because it's tailor made for you. But as someone who like enjoys noir stuff but didn't like grow up on a heavy dose of gangster movies, it feels like I'm almost like I can just actively tell I'm not the targeted audience as I'm watching the movie, unfortunately.
Yeah, that I felt that way too. It's interesting because at times it feels like it's a really good version of this genre, and then at times it feels like it's actively calling out the genre for things. Like, what's the main guy? Tom?
Tom Reagan.
Yeah. So, like, how many times is a camera cut just to Tom walking through a door and immediately getting, like, punched in the face?
Hey, dude.
Just blindsided. It happens, like, 5-6 times in the movie.
He gets punched almost as many times as people get drop kicked in Memories of Murder.
Yeah.
It's like a running thing throughout the movie.
About the third time it happened, I'm like, okay, you mean this to be laugh out loud funny.
There's also that scene when his boss is punching him like 400 times on this never-ending hallway sequence, which I actually kind of like that. I like that scene when he's just getting punched constantly.
Like the
and I like
of
how
the Daredevil hallway fight.
Right. He's getting. What's really funny though is I like how he keeps getting punched and like the people in the hallway are like supporting him up just to get punched again.
Yes,
but it's not like they're holding him in place. Sometimes they're just genuinely just catching this guy that's getting punched down the hallway.
Falling.
Yeah, they're just keeping him from falling until he falls on the staircase, and then they're just like, "Fuck that guy," and then they just let him keep falling.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Miller's Crossing, by the way. Even though like I don't think spoilers would even necessarily matter for this movie.
I don't know that it would.
Because to me, like what I found enjoyable about it was the performances. And
the performances are impeccable.
Perfect.
The performances are fan-fucking-tastic.
Also, I don't know if you picked up on this,
Uh-oh.
but the main dude, is it Gabriel Byrne?
Uh-huh.
If they had made a movie with The Question in the 90s,
dude,
Gabriel Byrne would have been a fucking amazing Question.
So you're thinking The Question, and that's great. My brain went to Dick Tracy.
Yeah, he'd been great at that too. Gabriel Byrne's fucking awesome in this.
Yeah, last time I saw him, he was, being ignited. He combusted.
He's fucking awesome in Hereditary too. Like he's great at everything. He's such an underrated actor to me because he's been in 1,000 things. It just seemed like he wasn't commonly given the main role.
So
like I think he was one of the main guys in Usual Suspects, but he's so good.
So not only is he really, really good, but like his facial expressions and his voice, the sound of his voice, he's really good.
Really good. He's got that good noir voice.
Yeah.
Like you can tell from his audition why they casted him because his voice it just screams 1920s gangster noir. Like it screams,
and the way he
like,
carries himself too.
Yeah. It screams like if
I know
they had
the hat and the jacket and stuff helps, but like his posture, like literally the way he carries himself. Yeah,
like the way he walks around,
movie.
you envision like voiceover, like the detective noir voiceover happening, which is one of the things I actually find the most interesting about this is like one of my favorite things about the movie is how it kind of like turns the noir narration on its head, and that even by the ending of the movie, you really don't fully know the ins and outs of his character motivations. Which is the exact polar opposite of like noir detective stuff,
where
know like
everything. You have like perfect information.
Everything. Yeah, we know everything the main character's been thinking for 90 minutes. It's constant character motivation and narration as you're getting like an inside look into what he's thinking. You don't even know if he truly, because like what I found interesting is like by the ending of the movie, they make it out like he has been planning this all along to help out Leo, but you're not really 100% sure of that because to me, it comes across as he's just been playing everyone the entire time, and that's just kind of how it shook out. Like it just kind of happened to work out that he ended up helping Leo. I don't know how intentional it was that he wanted to help Leo because it's not like he stuck around at the end. It's not like he actively wanted to stick around and be, like closer to Verna, because he also like he shows up to her brother's funeral and says big turnout at the end. And I'm just like, fuck, dude.
This movie left me at the end because I was just like, why? Well, this is the big thing. I'm like, what? Why did any of this happen? Why did Tom do anything that he did? Like, I've never understood, because the only thing that I can figure is that he is exactly what he described Bernie being or something. Like, his description of Bernie being a grifter and just taking every single opportunity afforded him. It seems like that's what he's doing because he has no end game. He's not taking over. He's not getting money.
Yeah.
He goes through all of this and ends up with nothing.
But it's also interesting too is like the only like strong bit of motivation I can pull from the movie is what's the the Dane?
Yeah.
Who's like by the way,
Jaws basically.
That actor is awesome.
That actor's amazing.
Like everything with the Dane is fucking awesome.
At times it felt like I was watching like the next episode of a series when the Dane showed up.
Yeah, the Dane's so good. But like the Dane is in the like second in command enforcer role in the opposite gang.
Yeah.
And he sees what happens to the Dane, even though the Dane didn't double cross Casper. Casper still fucking kills him just because there's a chance.
Right.
And it's like maybe Tom sees that happen to the Dane and can potentially see that happening to himself in the future, where it's like all it takes is your boss, to have the inkling that you're going to double cross him, which Tom already has in this movie, which like his decision making of wanting to like sleep with Verna on the side is weird too, because it almost is like he's setting up a romantic relationship with Verna to prove a point to Leo that it's possible, even though he doesn't really like her.
Yeah, I don't
so,
understand what is happening.
You don't know any of his motivation for Verna outside of, like I said earlier, it's like he's so harsh to her, especially at the end after he's killed her brother. He doubles down on making sure that she hates him by what he says to her. 'Cause it's awful to show up to her brother's funeral and say big turnout because they're the only people there besides the priest,
Yeah.
Like that's fucked up. And I don't know. It's bizarre. Like I don't know his motivations even a little bit, but that also makes it interesting because you can like, I think that's one of the things that people kind of like grasp onto when it comes to this movie is like, at the ending of it, you're like, what the fuck? So it makes you kind of re-examine it. So I think people maybe like, like are enjoying the thought exercise of like trying to figure out what the fuck Tom's like end game is throughout the whole thing. Cause I agree. Like I was left confused as to like,
okay. So it's not
why?
just me. I was like, what did I miss?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I'm also having trouble finding, did you know there's like, this is based on a novel or something? It's in the writing credits, but I'm having a hard time looking it up.
I think it's based off like an old like detective novel. I think Dashiell Hammett I think is one of the like kind of old school detective novel writers.
It's just weird. I'm not finding anything for that.
Let's see. What does IMDb have it credited as? Because they have Hammett as one of the writing credits. Yeah, so he's uncredited. And it's basically kind of like credited as a throwback to his style of writing, not necessarily like an adaptation. It's more of just like adapting the vibe of his novels.
Gotcha. He has a couple of books called The Black Mask too. I wonder if that has anything like served as any inspiration for The Black Mask, the Batman villain.
It could be because he's a gangster.
That's
he's
what I'm
like
thinking.
A throwback kind of gangster character.
Also, like this is me. This is not the movie's fault. This is totally me. The relationship between Leo and Tom. All I could think was Johnny Dangerously and Peter Boyle. Like that's all I could think of was the two of them. Like it
obviously the Untouchables was like a reference point for that movie, but like did this also come out before Johnny Dangerously? Because that feels like a direct callback to this to
1990 Johnny Dangerous. 1984 was Johnny Dangerously. It came out 6 years earlier.
That's so weird because Johnny Dangerously feels like it's like
taking
riffing
off
on
of this movie.
Miller's Crossing.
Yeah.
But I guess that means like they just all fall into the same vein of the vibe of these gangster movies.
Yeah.
Like that's actually one of the things that's like was disappointing to me because you know me, I like the Coen brothers. I don't I haven't seen like every one of their movies, but you know how much I love The Big Lebowski. You know how much I love Buster Scruggs. Like there's several other things that they've made that I really, really like.
First time.
Pan shot. This movie seems like they're spending so much of their focus making this movie work with the vibe of OG gangster movies that it doesn't feel like a Coen Brothers movie to me. And that makes me sad because I like weird Coen Brothers stuff.
That is weirdly the same criticism people give Nosferatu.
Yeah, I think you and I actually talked about that exactly. About how like
I don't fucking remember.
I think we talked about how like I think that was one of my critiques of it is
my
that
brain
like,
is basically Steve Buscemi's brain at the end of this movie.
I think that was one of my critiques though because it's like he needs to pay homage and respect to Nosferatu, but he can't let the movie at the same time be fully his own, which is why we like The Lighthouse so much, is because The Lighthouse is unadulterated
and Mermaid Poon.
Exactly. Can't go wrong there.
Can never go wrong with Mermaid Poon.
Yeah. And similarly with Miller's Crossing, it's missing that splash of like weirdness and darkness, and that's what I kind of like associate with the Coen brothers. Is like the Big Lebowski has some stuff that is, laugh out loud funny and weird, and also gets dark at times.
Yeah.
With Buster Scruggs, like Buster Scruggs is like free word association of Coen brothers stuff. There's like the really dark stuff, the really funny stuff, the just fucking bonkers shit in the Buster Scruggs like section. And this has like some of their kind of usual vibe, especially with like the dialogue is Coen brothers-esque.
Yeah.
Especially with like the scenes, like I really love the scenes with
the dialogue
like
is really good. It's very of like 1930s, 1940s gangster movie.
It has that rhythm.
Yeah.
It has that like upbeat, that really snappy rhythm to it. That also is very like a gangster movie works really well as told by the Coen brothers. I just wish they had lent more of their weirdness to this, if that makes sense at all.
It seems like they had some issues even writing the script to begin with. So I wonder how many different ideas they had that they had to throw out because it didn't feel enough of the genre, right? Like they clearly wanted to pay homage to the noir genre.
For sure.
In the gangster genre. So I wonder how many things that could have served the movie better that they got rid of to serve the genre.
Because that's one of the things too, is like one of the kind of calling cards of the Coen brothers is a lot of their original movies, such as like take for instance like The Big Lebowski, how The Big Lebowski is simultaneously like really simple while also crazy complicated, just because they like making these weird kind of bonkers movies that have all of these kind of like random characters at play. And like you have like you have like like in Lebowski you have like the fascist neo-Nazi dudes, and you have
do the Coens always kill Steve Buscemi?
I probably
is that like an ongoing thing for them?
Good night, sweet prince.
How can we kill Steve Buscemi this time?
Yeah. Who's also awesome in this. Not in the movie very much, but is also always awesome.
Yes.
I like the scene with Gabriel Byrne and John Turturro.
Oh,
the first time they interact.
And the second time.
The first time especially though, like their dialogue in that scene is some of the most like noir rhythm based kind of dialogue in the movie that I loved because they're so good. So yeah, we've talked a lot about the Coens. Let's go kind of like step by step to the cast. Gabriel Byrne is our lead here, who he's been in a million things. He's been nominated for Emmys, but it always just feels like he's really underrated.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, it's like the dude's always good, but he just hasn't had these kind of like, he doesn't have, you know who he reminds me of is if like Cillian Murphy had never gotten Oppenheimer, and how like Cillian Murphy is like obviously fucking amazing, but he just wasn't ever given the lead role.
Right.
And if like Cillian Murphy had never gotten Oppenheimer and gotten that Oscar and gotten that kind of like, he's so good, it's okay to cast him as the lead, even though he's not your traditional leading guy. That's kind of like the trajectory like Gabriel Byrne's always been on. It's like he's a great actor. He just hasn't really gotten those opportunities.
Right.
And he gets that here, and he's fucking great. But it's just the movie has no through line for him.
His performance in this movie may be one of the best performances I've seen in a movie, to be honest.
He's so good.
He's so good.
And like what
he
can't
totally
be,
disappears into the character of Tom Reagan.
Absolutely. And also like what can't be like
and you're
overstated.
rooting for him, even though he's kind of a shit.
Oh, he's an asshole.
But you can't help but root for him, not just because the movie's focusing on him, but because he's a legit cool character. He's just a dick.
And it's cool to follow the character who is like 5 steps ahead of everyone, while also like there's a couple of instances where he's like legitimately, playing people and outthinking them, but then he almost gets killed halfway through the movie, and he only gets saved because Turturro had set up a double,
right,
to make it look like he actually died. It's like he gets very, very close to getting killed. But
also, while I have this thought in my head before I forget it, Gabriel Byrne and John Turturro, like 1990 version of them, Gabriel Byrne looks so much like Tom Hiddleston, and
He
John
does,
Turturro with that haircut looks so much like Adam Sandler.
Seeing John Turturro young is one of those things that breaks my brain. It's
Because
like
he's always
seems
looked
like
the way he did in Transformers to me, right? And everything he's ever been in.
But what's also weird, he's looked like he did 20 years ago. And if you look at him right now, he doesn't look like he's actually aged. Like he looks like he got to that. He's like Christopher Lloyd, how Christopher Lloyd looked like Christopher Lloyd for 40 years.
He was born old.
Yeah, like Turturro has looked like old Turturro for seemingly like my whole life, and to see him looking so young in this broke my brain.
Sean Connery is another one. He famously another one of my another one of my favorite movie trivia things is in Last Crusade. He's older than Harrison Ford is older than Sean Connery, but Sean Connery's playing his dad.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. John Turturro, think about this. Think about him here, 1990, right? That Transformers movie was 2007. Look how different he looks in 17 years.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
It's so crazy. And that's how, to me, he's always looked. I don't know.
He's always been Transformers Turturro. That's like his aesthetic. But it's... And another one is like when you see like Walken really young. That's another one that just breaks my brain because I associate, older Walken because he's looked like that for seemingly 50 years.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. It's weird. But yeah. What I was going to say though is what I like about the performances is it can't be like overstated how easy it is to overplay these characters and become like
they
like
invite
a
themselves to be overplayed.
Yeah, but they're not overplayed to the point to where it's a parody. Like they just seem like over the top characters that you would have seen in a movie in 1929. You know, they seem like right at home instead of being like a caricature or like a parody. Like they're not they're like, especially like the Casper guy is the most like kind of cartoonish one of them.
Which is the point.
Yeah, and it is the point, and I think it's a great performance.
You don't get John Polito unless you want him to be Johnny Casper,
Exactly. And I think he's one of the most like fun characters in the movie.
And I feel like everything he does after this movie is he's just Johnny Casper in the next movie. It feels like he gets stuck in that role forever.
Did you give me the hi-hat? I love that line.
God damn it, dude! I was taking a drink. I almost spit it out.
I love it. That's like my big takeaway is how fun it is. Did you give me the hi-hat?
I love that that's his thing too. That's his tick.
He says it
like 5 times the conversation.
Every time he starts up a scene with a different character, he has said it to them within the first like minute of conversation because they really want to just like fucking make sure you remember that quote.
Marcia Gay Harden plays Verna. She is an actress that I swear to God, she has probably been in every movie I've ever seen, but I couldn't tell you one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing her young was weird also.
I think she's also excellent as far as like playing the 1920s like femme fatale kind of character. I think she was well casted too.
Yes.
Pretty much everyone is like perfectly chosen.
Which is interesting because who was it that they had wanted what's his name to play? They originally had God damn it, I can't think of his name. Peter Stormare. He was supposed to be the Dane.
I also want to see that version.
I love Peter Stormare so much. I'm kind of glad that didn't work out.
See, I agree with you. I want to see both. I want to see both versions, dude. I gotta see
somewhere in the multiverse. Peter Stormare made that movie.
It's like Tom Reagan killed a guy with a fucking pencil.
So it says here on Wikipedia, the role of the Swede was written for Peter Stormare, but he could not be cast until he was playing Hamlet, a role often referred to as the Dane. J.E. Freeman was cast, and the name of the character was changed to the Dane, while Stormare went on to be featured in Fargo and The Big Lebowski. So, they changed the character. They changed the name of the character, but when Peter Stormare couldn't do it.
Because Peter Stormare is just...
They were both the Dane, J.E. Freeman and Peter Stormare.
he's just Peter Stormare through and through.
Dude, when he
And
showed up in Arrow, my head exploded.
I also was just thinking back to some of his scenes in The Big Lebowski are so fucking good when he's one of the nihilist guys. I fucking love him. I gotta watch the Big Lebowski again. It's been too long. God, I love the Big Lebowski.
Last time I saw it was when we watched it.
Yeah, I gotta pick it for the show because like we could talk for 4 hours about all the nonsense in Big Lebowski. I love Albert Finney, who has a PUBG Tommy gun fight sequence in the middle of this movie.
Dude,
that is pretty ridiculous and pretty badass.
It's so good though. And
when he lights up that dude up in like the second story and just shoots him 400 times.
Dude,
it's such a throwback to OG gangster movies that like
he's
you gotta know people love that.
Much Peter Boyle from Johnny Dangerously that I really would have expected Johnny Dangerously to have been after this movie.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Like,
happened before.
Did Johnny Dangerously just nail this genre as well as this movie did?
It honestly did, dude.
Like Joe Piscopo is basically John Polito in this. You shouldn't kick me in the balls, Johnny. My sister kicked me in the balls once.
but dude, when Leo is just chasing down the car like the fucking T-1000, I'm just like, yes.
Oh my god.
When they call it one of the best lines ever in any movie.
He's
when
still
they
an
call
artist with a Tommy gun.
An artist with a Thompson is such a fucking badass line.
It's so good.
Yes. And then you're wondering, like, how does this guy have the whole town on lockdown and is the fucking Wilson Fisk of this city? And then you watch him in that scene, you're just like, oh, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
He's really good at one side of the business, but he needs Tommy to run the other side.
Yeah, but the dude is the fucking Terminator when he needs to be, and that's how he got the fucking, like, entire police force. How funny is it? Anytime that police lieutenant guy shows up and is just acting like a fucking dork with Tommy, I love those interactions.
So not only do I love that, the joke of, you know, the police commissioner and the mayor, and I voted for him 6 times last election, and then when he switches sides and John Polito takes over, you know, the mayor and the police commissioner, and then at the end of the movie, they're back in Leo's office.
But I also like the interactions that Tom has with the actual guy that's like arriving to all the crime scenes. You know, like that that lieutenant dude. They're like police captain guy. Yeah, he shows up and the backgrounds of those scenes become an airplane joke.
No,
every time
it becomes, what is it in Lethal Weapon? He's like, nothing to see here. Please move along as everything's exploding behind him.
I also love Tom never reacts to the fucking gunfights happening behind him.
Yeah,
because he's just fucking unfazed like the whole time. I'm gonna be honest, I'm liking this movie more talking about it because it's like when you delve into the just ridiculous bits that kind of like get glossed over as you're watching it. It's a really fun movie, just in the vein of like thinking of it as a OG gangster throwback. It's really fun. So I'm starting to like pick up on more of like why people like it so much. But
the more you talk about it, the more you come around.
But if you just focus, like you have to like remove yourself from the character motivations. You have to just kind of like take it on face value. Because if you try to figure out, like we talked about earlier, like if you try to figure out the nuances behind what Tom actually wants and which characters he actually doesn't hate, because he like interacts with everyone like he fucking hates everybody.
I think he just can't help himself is supposed to be the thing. I'm also pretty sure the end of the movie, looking like we're back at Miller's Crossing after the funeral, and him standing there watching Leo walk away is probably a metaphor for something that I'm not understanding.
Like that's another thing too. Is like the other kind of like motivational tie-in that I was thinking of earlier when I was talking about how like he could kind of see himself in the Dane, and one thing that like makes him want to just break out of everything is just actually not being someone's like guard dog. Is at the ending of it, he has no more associations with anybody and he can kind of fuck off and do what he wants, and he's not like the Dane. You know, he's not this dude who is just an enforcer. He's just a tool to be used whenever like Leo wants him to like, you know, go fucking kill somebody or something. He can just be his own guy instead of being someone's like right-hand man. But this is never talked about in the entire movie. It is all stuff you have to like extract from observations of like watching Tom react, because like the way he reacts to the Dane getting killed, you can kind of tell like
he sees himself.
Yeah, he sees himself and it actually bothers him.
Because if he
most
would
of the
do that
time-
to the Dane, because they say in
Right.
the movie that him and the Dane go way back, and that
Yeah.
kind of shows, because it's not like the Dane is just well paid. Like, he seems to genuinely care for Casper. And what you find out, you think he is just an enforcer. You find out he's pretty good at deducing things and tailing people and investigating, and he's pretty
Just like
fucking
Tom.
smart. He figures out
Yeah.
Tom's game early on in the movie. He just doesn't have the proof.
Yeah, he puts himself in position to get Tom out of the situation, because if Bernie hadn't placed the fake stand-in body double for him with Mink's corpse, like where he fucks up his face to where it could presumably be Bernie.
I told you to put one in his brain, not blow his face off.
Yeah, the Dane would have just fucking shot him right there, and then it's over for Tom. Like,
Yeah.
he knows how much he's fucked. I think Tom even like pukes in that scene because he knows he's fucked. Because of how fucking hyper competent the Dane is. Like,
Yeah.
Dane's such a dude. That scene when the Dane is talking to Verna and he takes out the two bodyguards.
Yeah.
When he shoots that dude like through the wall. It's pretty
That's
badass.
so cool. It really
So
that reminded
badass.
me of Breaking Bad. I wonder if that scene with Mike Ehrmantraut was based on this,
Oh yeah,
because Mike
can see
Ehrmantraut
that.
does that.
yeah. It's fucking awesome.
This movie, like, it has so much that I like about it, but it leaves me so confused at times.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's like you really do have to remove yourself from the usual things that are going to tie you into whether you like the movie or not. Is stuff you have to like. I'm gonna focus on the performances.
Right.
I'm gonna focus on like the character interactions. I'm gonna focus. It's like it's a vibes movie, like through and
Right.
through. Like, you cannot get wrapped up in the plot. You have to get wrapped up in the vibes and just kind of like let yourself enjoy the performances.
Okay,
Some
Jeff.
other people we haven't talked about
Oh.
is like we talked about like how good Albert Finney is as Leo. I like how I think this role is what led to Mike Starr just being like a gangster guy for like his entire career. Because isn't he the guy in Dumb and Dumber who's like the gangster dude that's like chasing the main two dudes?
Maybe. I don't
Pretty sure.
remember. See.
Pretty sure he is. Yeah, he is. He's the bad guy in Dumb and Dumber who's like the gangster guy who's tracking him down the whole movie. And it's just like he's also just real fucking good at playing these types of like mob enforcer characters. So he just always played a mob enforcer
So,
guy.
well, I mean, he's good at playing it, but Frankie ain't good at his job.
Dude, when he looks so offended that he got hit in the head by the chair,
Okay,
is a pretty great moment.
That's what I was wanting to bring up, is when he just turns around and leaves, and Tom is just left standing there holding the chair, like, what the fuck is happening?
And Frankie looks like a hurt puppy.
Yeah,
It's,
he looks
it's
betrayed.
It's such a good scene.
It's so good. And how long does the camera just linger on Tom? Like a good 15 seconds of him just standing there looking confused, holding the chair.
It's so good. That scene is Coen Brothers like through and through. That's the stuff that I'm looking for. Like just
Does he say something like "Jesus, Tom" or something like that? And he just leaves.
yeah, to bring in more dudes because this has now escalated. And then he's about to get fucking murdered pretty much in that scene, and then his fucking cop boys show up and then turn it into an airplane scene.
Yeah,
again.
which we do again later, right?
Mhm.
Which again is like, okay, you guys are playing this for comedy. Those are the times it feels like a parody of the genre where it's like calling stuff out, but
Yeah.
it's also doing it in such a way that it's not a joke. I don't know how to say that where it makes sense.
it's funny, but it's not a parody.
Yeah.
It's like it's like
calling out the
playing-
genre for its tropes.
Yeah, it's like
While
playing
leaning
within
into
the
them.
trope. Yeah.
Because Tom keeps getting saved by these random police raids.
Yeah.
What I wanted
great.
to say real quick is, where are we in this movie? Are we Frankie and Tic Tac, or are we the commissioner and the mayor?
I think we're Frankie and Tic Tac because we're the people who'd be so incompetent that the whole reason we're out here is this guy needs to prove himself by killing a dude, and we're just gonna stay by the car as he walks for 5 miles out into the woods.
Well, I was
and then
so
just,
happy
we're just gonna
the movie calls that out too.
Right, it's so good.
Yeah,
isn't it the Dane too who like
Dane,
calls him
I
idiots?
found out. Yeah, he's like, these geniuses didn't even see it happen.
Yeah, we heard 2 shots, man.
Oh
So good.
god, but yeah, I fucking love Frankie in this movie so much. Like how Polito hasn't just had Frankie killed, I don't understand.
It's so funny.
Jesus, Tom.
But it's such a good like little character thing for the giant mob enforcer guy to not enjoy the one thing he's there for is in that scene when he needs to go beat the shit out of Tom, and he looks like he's about to go do it begrudgingly.
Right.
He only starts like looking like he's gonna enjoy beating the shit out of Tom after he hit him in the head with a fucking chair. Like that's the only thing that got him to like seemingly enjoy beating him up, because he's just there because he's the big dumb guy, but he doesn't enjoy beating people up, which is the exact opposite of like what this character usually is.
Right.
Is like the giant enforcer guy is usually like he's like, you know, punching his palm and he's like he can't wait to beat the shit out of the main guy in like an interrogation scene in these movies.
It's usually like the Dane, or he's sitting there with his gun or like with a knife and he's just like playing with it or whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
Like it's usually that. And then we got Frankie.
We got Frankie.
And his name is Frankie. I don't know why that elevates it, but it does.
It's perfect. Yeah, I love it.
And then Tic Tac. Al Mancini is Tic Tac. That was pretty good.
It's pretty great.
Oh man.
Yeah. I also so what is like your kind of like take on the ending of it? What I was alluding to earlier, because the ending of the movie when he's like talking to Leo and shit is when Leo is talking about how like this was such a smart play, and like Leo is reacting to it. I don't know if partially is that him kind of like wishful thinking that this was always Tom's plan all along. Do you think this was Tom's plan all along to set up all of these steps in order to help out Leo? Because I don't buy it.
I don't buy it either.
I think Tom is doing whatever he can to stay alive throughout the extent of the film by double crossing as many people as he can in a given moment to not get killed, because it's a fucked up situation. He seemingly has like respect for Leo because of how long he's worked for him and like quote unquote has a friendship with. But he also just at the same time never seems like this is all out of loyalty to Leo. That's just how the cards fell.
Yeah.
To me. So what do you think about all that?
So my take on it is that I think plot wise, I agree with you. He's just trying to stay alive. But I think part of the point, they made such a big point in his speech about John Turturro, was it Bernie? They made such a point out of that speech about him being a grifter, not being able to help himself, that I think it's the pot calling the kettle black. I think once he gets in it, he just kind of can't help himself either, because he is trying to stay alive, but he seems like he's enjoying himself too.
Like he's enjoying. He's like Littlefinger almost.
It's playing the game. But like at the end of the movie, he's also, not only did he survive, he's also kind of out of the business. Like that's usually something that you're not let out of, but it's like he got away. Like he got out of the business, he lived and everything. He's got nothing now. He's screwed over everybody, but they all also have a respect for him, so he could probably just walk away and start a new life somewhere.
But then it's like
I can't figure out his motivation though, because he doesn't want that.
That's the thing. It's really weird because
unless he was trying to do that with Verna, but he doesn't even like Verna.
He doesn't like. He actively hates Verna too, and it's really weird because like the thing is like Littlefinger, as a point of comparison, loves fucking over people and loves playing the game and loves double crossing people, but he has an end game. If like Tom does all of this to get out of the game, he's left with like seemingly the thing that like without the thing he enjoyed, which was playing the game and double crossing people. So it's like if he's no longer engaged in being in the scenario where he can kind of double cross people and play the game, like what does he gain from the ending of this?
Yeah, that's what I can't figure out because
is he happy? Is he happy or is he not? It's
once he has Casper taken out, my thought was, okay, so then there's just Leo, and then he's in control of the city. That's what I thought was happening. I thought this was Tom taking over, taking out the competition, and then also taking over his boss's role. And then
so you thought he was going to try to become the new Leo.
I thought he was just going to own the city. And then the ending happened, and then the credits rolled, and I was like, huh? Like, what?
But what's fucking weird too is like so much of my confusion is tied into
he could have done it.
It's so much of my confusion is tied into the dialogue choices made before and after the funeral.
Yeah,
at the very end, because Tom, when he's talking to Leo as they're walking away from the funeral, like leads Leo along in thinking that Tom made all of these like decisions and plays to help out Leo, but at the same time tells Leo to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
So it's like, is he wanting to just get out and leave Leo, who is like maybe someone he no longer views as a friend, or maybe he never did, because like their friendship is only reflected upon with like a good vibe by Leo.
Yeah.
Tom never really talks positively about Leo ever, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like, not even a little bit. And he's actively sleeping with the girl that he wants to marry.
And talking to him in the other room.
And fucking tells him.
Yeah.
He straight up... That
was a good play, though, in that situation.
But that was also, like, a good bit of screenwriting, because I expected that to be, like, a third act reveal for Leo.
Yeah.
And then, like, Leo to have the kind of, like, fight then towards the ending of the movie with Tom over Verna. But that is like revealed halfway through the movie, and is then no longer an element. It's just what gets him on the outs with Leo's gang, pretty much. But yeah, because the way the movie was kind of like setting up their love triangle to me as being like the main point of the plot, I was expecting that to be the third act conflict, not something that is like part of the setup to like the middle of the movie, which is kind of cool. It's like the way they like organized events is interesting to think about and to like analyze, like why. It just, by the ending of it, they don't really put it at an endpoint to where stuff makes sense. And that's what makes it confusing and also kind of interesting. I don't know. Like, I've been talking about this movie for an hour and I still have no fucking clue what his motivations are at the ending of the movie. It's not possible to figure out.
I don't feel like he has one other than just survive.
Just go with the motions. It's like the whole point.
But by the end of the movie, he's got no one and nothing. He's pushed everyone away, and he's got nothing. So I don't know what he gained. The thing that I thought about, it almost feels like, and I'm not saying that this is the way it was or anything, or the way the movie was made. I'm just saying the way it feels when you watch it is like it has that noir detective narration we were talking about earlier, but that was removed.
That would be interesting. I would love to see an alternate cut.
Yeah.
That like you know how like Blade Runner had the cut with narration?
Yeah.
I would love to see the cut of this that had narration and see what all changed.
There's a lot of moments in the movie where we're just watching characters do nothing, and it feels like we should be listening to narration in those moments.
It also feels like such a part of the genre that it would be crazy to go about writing this without having narration, because it's such a constant trope and through line of the entire genre.
Yeah.
That I wonder if you're right. I wonder if it was just eliminated, but it makes it such a weird thing to analyze and try to figure out. Because the only thing I can think of
because
is
that would explain everything Tom's doing. If he had a narration, an inner monologue that we don't know about, and then I don't know, maybe it was too campy or something, so they removed it. Again, I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying it feels like that when you watch it.
Maybe it made him less interesting,
I
'Cause,
could
like,
see that.
maybe they realized when they watched the cut of like if we remove the narration and he is just like it also kind of like ties in with their
It
metaphor
literally
of the
makes
hat.
it a different movie.
I think a big reason why it might not have had narration though is how much they love the symbolism of the hat.
Yeah.
Because like if he doesn't have narration and you don't know the ins and outs of like what he wants as a character, it makes him more like the hat in the wind of like he's just kind of like going with the motions and he's totally out of control. And at the ending of the movie, he gets at the ending of the movie, he gets control. He gets out of the business and out of the game. But like we've talked about, maybe that's what he actually like that. Maybe that was the only thing he enjoyed. So like he got what he thought he wanted, but he didn't realize how much he was enjoying the double crossing and all the like the bullshit with the twists and turns.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That it really left me just kind of staring at my TV as the credits scrolled, like just trying to process what I thought, because I really thought this movie was going to end. He took over because he took out everyone. He could have done it, but
Yeah.
he the ending also almost makes it seem like he planned, like he was getting out of the business and was going to leave with Verna. And then he says that they were going to get married and that she had asked him. And then the look on his face when he hears that, he's just kind of like, all right, well, then I'm going to give her what she wants, and just kind of leaves. But it's like, you don't like her, dude.
See, here's the thing. You can also read that as it's not that he's mad about not getting a chance to be with Verna. He's disappointed in Leo. Because Leo, who is supposed to be this person who like commands respect, is literally forgiving Tom for sleeping with the person he wanted to marry.
Yeah.
And is then forgiving Verna by then realizing she went out of her way to propose to him. It's just a con.
Right.
It's not out of love. So it's like it's not that he's mad about not getting a chance to be with Verna. He's just disappointed in Leo for being such a fucking pushover. And
Peter Boyle, right?
Yeah, it's like he can no longer
or God damn it, Lloyd Bridges in Mafia.
Mm-hmm.
That is also what it kind of reminds me of, Leo. I know you haven't seen it, but Bobby knows that reference.
It's just fascinating, like how much they leave up to really vague interpretation is pretty cool. I think that's an element that like makes this stick out to people that like Ryan, like I mentioned when I picked this, was like this is one of Rian Johnson's favorite movies.
And that comes through in his characters in like Knives Out. For
sure. And especially in like I don't think you've seen it, but Rian Johnson's first movie, Brick, is very much in the rhythm of like a 1920s noir. It's a pretty cool movie. I need to pick for the show because Brick is like a modern, at the time, like an early 2000s, late 90s like mystery in a modern setting, but with like the rhythm of like a noir thing. It's pretty cool, and it's Rian Johnson writing it, so like the twists and turns are interesting. It's a really cool movie. Like I think I like Brick more than this, even though it is like clearly paying homage to the rhythm and like the acting of this.
Yeah,
which is interesting. But like that element that like leaves so much to interpretation, I think is an element that like people that are really into movies and really into like noir stuff like enjoy, because it's not all it's not all spoon fed to you like a lot of stuff in this genre usually is.
I mean, for me, it's basically the ending is it felt like there was no payoff. Everything that happens in the movie is interesting and good. Like, how is he going to get out of this jam this time? Like,
oh. How good is the turn after Bernie has acted like he's so thankful that he was let go by Tom. He's so thankful to have a second. He's so thankful to have like a second chance at life, and he's like he's gonna get out of town. He's like so thankful, and when he gets that call, and Bernie is just like, so I was gonna leave town, and then I realized, oh, I fucking own you, because if I just show my face once, you're fucked. That's such a good little turn for that character, and Totoro is so good at like playing the helpless idiot, and then turning like calculated is really good.
And then one of the best lines in the movie was he said that he's got however many days to see Casper dead before he starts eating in restaurants.
So good, dude.
It's so good.
So good.
But yeah, it's just like, oh, you son of a bitch. How crazy is it that one of the most important scenes in the movie is the goddamn poster?
Right?
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
That's pretty. It's literally a screen grab from the most important moment of the movie that you could argue, anyway, is the most important moment in the movie, because this is a very important moment for both of these characters, and it sets up the ending, what happens here.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's crazy. This movie is crazy, Jeff. I don't
really
know what to make of it, because I really liked it, but it also really left me wanting.
Yeah,
and not in a good way.
I'm liking it more as we're kind of like revisiting it, because I think it was one of those things to where I was like so bamboozled by the fucking ending and non-ending that it like made me retroactively like.
It felt like the movie just stopped. It was really strange.
But that's also like an interesting choice, and that is also like a Coen Brothers
It's a bold
thing.
choice. I don't know if it's an interesting choice.
Yeah, it's interesting to me just in that like it's so left up to interpretation, but not in like a cheeky kind of ambiguous ending way. It's just a non-ending.
Yeah.
It's like you know what it reminds me of too, which I think was also No Country for Old Men.
It's been a long time. It's been since that movie was in theaters that I saw it.
I'm pretty sure that was the Coen Brothers. I'm going to verify.
I want to say you're right.
Yes, it was also the Coen Brothers. That is.
It feels
like,
a lot like this movie, if I recall.
That is like the most non-ending thing that like that's the one thing that like the people that don't like the movie kind of like respond to. I still love that movie and I think it's great, but I understand.
Again, a hell of a cast and a lot of great performances.
Oh man, Anton Chigurh is one of the ultimate villains. So good, and Brolin so fucking good in that movie. But its decision to also not really have an ending is interesting to kind of like correlate that to Miller's Crossing, because that's something they will do, is they will just leave you hanging. And like it's bold to do, but it's like it also like breaks my brain because I'm sitting here. Poor fucking Ron and I have been trying to figure out what the fuck Tom wanted for an hour and a half, and I still don't know, dude. I'm never gonna.
Is it that they're making a bold choice? Is it that they're bad at writing endings? Like I don't know.
I don't know.
It could be either. It could be both. Dude. I don't know.
It could be, but that's I don't know.
You know, again, I don't know if I'm coming across like I'm sound like I feel negative on this movie or anything. Like I said, it's the performances. They're 10 out of 10. No notes.
The performances and the casting. Every person was fucking picked immaculately.
Yes.
Like you said earlier, that carries the movie, and that alone makes it worth watching.
Yes.
It's just if you're a person who like you and me, how like we want to finish the movie and understand what the fuck we just watched, you will not feel that if you are someone who likes picking up on character motivations.
Everything
and stuff. Like,
leading up to the end of the movie I was into and I liked. I just didn't know why it was happening, and I never got closure on that at the end of the movie.
You never got. I think that's a perfect way to describe it. Is it's a really good movie that does not give you closure, and you have to be okay with that. Because if you get too hung up on that, it'll ruin the movie for you. Like it almost did for me. But then I'm just like, no, fuck that. Like the performances sell the movie by themselves.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
And
it
like
just
you
sucks.
said, it's worth the money to rent or buy this movie just to see these people do their job, right? Just to see these actors act.
Just for Gabriel Byrne, John Turturro, and the guy who plays the Dane alone.
J.A. Freeman.
Everyone is fantastic, but specifically those were like my favorite parts of the movie was watching them interact.
I also really liked watching Polito.
Yeah, he's fun.
I liked Tom's reaction to Casper slapping his kid out of nowhere. Like that was the first time he's just like, "Oh my god, this guy's fucking nuts."
I love that interaction too, where I think it was with Casper. Where is it Casper that asks him like, "Do you like kids?" And Tom just flat out tells him, "No, I don't."
Yeah, that's the scene that with Frankie when he hits him in the chair. That's that same scene.
It's so good because like that's the moment where the character of Casper is like expecting for the guy to like, oh yeah, I fucking love kids, they're great. And then Tom just flat out, I think Casper even like comments multiple times on how like he can't help but respect Tom for just not bullshitting anybody.
Yeah, and just for
And
having
the
the
fact that,
balls
like-
to say what he thinks, because so many times just what he said should get him killed, and people fucking.
Exactly.
But think about it: if you're a mob boss, everyone's kissing your ass all the time. No one just
Exactly.
talks to you straight, so
That's what
they
makes-
can't
that's what
help
makes
but
Leo-
respect him.
That's what makes Leo and Casper respect him so much, is the fact that he's willing to. But
It's
what-
not just that though. He proves through this movie how smart he is and how good he is at this game. Like you get the feeling
For
he
sure.
built Leo's empire.
And like another facet we hadn't really talked about though is like, it is Tom's inability to kiss their ass that makes him such a good double crosser.
Yes,
Because he is telling them flat out without bullshit.
sometimes what he's about to do. Like,
Yeah, like he is no nonsense, and he is like, there is no bullshit to him as he's bullshitting lies to them that make them do certain things. Like it's like he's like the way that Tom gets Casper to kill the Dane
yeah.
is all bullshit. But he's so no nonsense about it, you believe him.
He's
because
very you know, they don't talk about it in the movies, but you know, in the books for Lord of the Rings, they talk about Saruman's ability is in his voice, that he can just kind of
yeah.
he's kind of the purple man. He can just kind of make you do anything he wants. That's
Mhm.
why Aragorn has that line, like, don't let him speak because he'll put a spell on us. Tom very much seems to have that ability. It seems like he can just worm tongue his way into
for sure.
anything. Like it's crazy what he does, but he does it all with the cadence and the interest of fucking what's his name in Office Space after he gets hypnotized. Like he just doesn't give a shit anymore.
Man. But another thing too.
Is this
So-
the mafia noir Office Space? Is that what this movie is?
I think it might be. But what's interesting too is some of the shit that Tom does would make you think he's suicidal.
Yes.
Because just like what you just said is so correct in that, like, so many times just him being a dick could get him killed at any given moment, to the point to where he comes across as suicidal. But Ron, what happens when he thinks he's legitimately about to die? He pukes because he's scared.
Right.
So he's not suicidal. So this entire fucking movie is nothing but contradictions about his character. So like them not having that inner narration and like inner dialogue, I don't fucking know what his game is, dude. And that makes him interesting, but it also makes him frustrating.
Right.
Because it's like Gabriel Byrne is a fucking genius in this, and he's so fucking great, but they keep his character so close to the vest,
And
like through and through.
everything you just said is why I keep going back to when he's describing John Turturro's character, he's also describing himself as like the moral of the movie, because at least in my mind, it's the only way I can explain what he's doing. Because my mind has to explain what he's doing.
You have to rationalize it to some
could
extent.
just be there's no reason. But that's not as interesting to me. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but like that's why my brain keeps going back, because they spend a lot of time again in that scene with him describing that character. It stood out to me how long we talked about it and how specific we talked about this character that we don't see for the first like 30 minutes of the movie before he shows up.
But everything that seems like will be like a concrete moment of character motivation is usually contradicted like 5 minutes later.
Contradicted or undermined somehow.
Constantly. All the time.
But again,
So I don't
we're making it sound terrible. It's interesting to watch because when that happens, something new has happened that he has to work his way out of. He has to problem solve. This is the Martian for mafia movies. is what it
really
is.
is.
He has to figure out how to science the shit out of this because thank God he's a botanist. He's a mafia botanist.
Mafia botanist.
Is that our new channel, the Discord?
If we did
Botanist Oso? No, that doesn't work.
if we did episode titles, Mafia botanist would be the episode title for this.
Because like again, my brain has to rationalize it. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not trying to convince you or anything. I'm just saying.
Oh no, I totally get it.
In my mind, that's where I keep going back to because it was just weird to me. We don't spend that much time on any other dialogue in the movie. It feels like he was describing himself when I think back on it.
Yeah.
But he doesn't see it, and maybe until the end of the movie when he realizes he now has nothing, just like Bernie had nothing.
I think a big moment. I think the biggest moment for him in the entire movie is watching the Dane get killed.
I agree.
Because
I think that the biggest moment, the first time it happens, is the scene in the poster with Bernie in the woods. But then I think, God, I think I rented that once, Bernie in the woods. But I think that the only scene that tops that later when it happens is when the Dane gets killed. And I'm pointing both of those out for how big they are and one being bigger than the other because they're so specific for Tom's character. Because he looks like he wants to kill Bernie because if Bernie's not dead, he's going to die, right? So and he wants to live, but it turns out he's not able to kill someone himself. Until he is later. But like he can't do it even though it means he's going to die. So he lets him go. And there's this big it's just a really big moment for him. And then he watches the Dane die and he's like, that's me. Right? That's going to be me.
Yeah, there's so many parallels with the way
like
the
I'm
Dane,
not safe now that I did this.
The way the Dane is set up as a character under Casper, like it is an obvious parallel to the way he is with Leo. And there's like so much of it plays into like him watching him get betrayed by Casper off of a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
He's the fucking the mob boss Casper dude within the movie has known Tom for like a day and is willing to backstab the Dane who he's known and worked with for years, who has been his most trusted like confidant. And he fucking kills him just because of like bullshit that Tom told him when he barely knows him, and Tom has done nothing but be a dick.
Yeah.
There's no reason
and
that he should believe him.
That's why I pointed out earlier, I felt it was important to say that like, yeah, he's a dick and people kind of respect him for that because he's a very specific kind of dick. But it's also very obvious that he can play this game, that he does know what he's doing and what he's talking about, and that he does have skill at this, and that commands respect, right? He doesn't just walk in as a nobody and start worm-tonguing Casper into killing the Dane. The Tom is established and respected already. Everybody knows
and he's
Tom.
really good. He's really good at pointing out stuff that could be seen as evidence for something.
Yeah.
Even though it's really not.
Yeah.
Because
Misdirecting.
he presents a lot of variables that like could be construed as evidence for someone wanting to set up like a double cross. So like he's super good at fucking just bullshitting his way through making people do what he wants them to do.
Yeah, and for Leo, like obviously his greatest asset is Tom. So what, you're not going to listen to what he's saying? And then Polito obviously knows the character of Tom and his reputation. So just like the Dane, he recognizes that Tom would be one of his greatest assets. So what? He's not going to listen to his recommendations?
And he also knows that if he can get on Tom's good side and remove Tom from the Leo equation fully, like what he does when he offers to pay off his gambling debt, if he can remove Tom fully from the Leo side of the equation, Leo's fucked because he knows how much of like importance Tom means to their whole organization. That like even though like Leo has the cops and has the mayor and shit, he'll be able to figure out how to get the mayor. And if he has Tom and Leo doesn't, even if Leo technically had more muscle, he'll be able to outmaneuver him somehow and take over the town. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. You know,
But
there's
Tom's fucking motivation in all of it will forever remain a mystery to me.
Yeah.
And
it will forever remain a question.
And is both fascinating and annoying.
Okay, two things we still haven't talked about. One, how great is it when Polito makes the mayor leave his own office?
I love that.
Is there any other bigger show of power than to make the guy in charge leave his own office?
I love that. This is my office. Get out of here.
But the biggest thing we still haven't talked about yet, you realize Tom called what happened at the very beginning of the movie, and that's confirmed at the end of the movie, that it was that this gang war is stupid. It did not need to happen. It never needed to happen. He was killed on accident by Mink in a in a misunderstanding. Mink thought the dude was following him when he was following Verna. And Leo immediately jumps to Polito's lashing out. So he lashes out, which then what? Polito's not going to respond, so he has to respond. And we go into a gang war. And Tom says at the beginning, we don't know that this is what happened. Anything could have happened to, what was it, Rugg? Was that his name?
Yeah, Rugg was the guy that got killed.
We don't know that it was Casper's men that did this. And his thing, too, that he pointed out was Verna could have done it. But I don't know if that was just part of his double cross, part of his game, or if he actually thought that at first. But then when we see her gun, she's not carrying a 22. So that's supposedly, I believe, the moment he realizes that it's Mink. Because Mink, the type of character that he is, he's more of an underhanded kind of guy. And he calls the 22 a woman's gun, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she's using a fucking revolver. She's not using a 22. So that basically leads him to, it was Mink, wasn't it? And then Bernie is like, yes, it was Mink.
Tom also is actively trying to avoid the gang war because he wants to hand over Bernie, who is Verna's brother, even though he's already at that time having having an affair with Verna. So Tom doesn't give a shit about Verna.
He literally
is Tom literally only having an affair with Verna in the case so he can have a falling back thing to get Leo to hand over Bernie, because if Leo figures out that Tom and her are having an affair, he will no longer give a shit about not wanting to hand over Bernie, and then he'll just not have the gang war.
No.
So is that all in place just because he wanted to have an out to get him to be mad enough at Verna to then willingly hand over Bernie and not have the gang war? Was that like a play in advance?
So the only thing I have to contradict that is, it seems like this relationship with Verna has been going on for a while already.
Okay.
It seems like it's already been well established, right?
But Tom clearly doesn't like Verna.
Clearly. I think
what is the main way? So maybe Tom didn't specifically start up the relationship with Verna because of the Bernie situation, but just to have
that's also a good episode title.
The Bernie situation.
The Bernie situation.
But
I'm gonna go start that podcast right now.
But hear me out. Tom doesn't like Verna. If Tom wants to guarantee, it doesn't work out because Leo's a fucking idiot. But if Tom wants a way to guarantee that Verna can no longer be a thorn in the side of Leo, he starts an affair with her and then has the opportunity to willingly tell Leo at any time to make him mad at Verna and kick her out like he does. So like, Tom has had this play in advance and has been having this relationship with Verna for a while that he clearly has no interest in because he fucking hates her. And he makes it abundantly clear, and I don't know why she likes him.
I don't think she does. That's the thing I was going to say.
Why does she keep coming back to him, though?
Because she can't help herself, she says. I think Tom is just like Bernie and Verna, because he calls her a grifter, too, after the big speech about Bernie. And I think Tom sees himself as above them, but really he's just like them. I think Verna and Tom can't help each other. I think Tom is playing this game with Leo because what's going to happen when Leo finds out? I think the whole game we see him playing, he's already playing. He's been playing this with Leo. Leo has got a girl, so he's sleeping with her.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is like he's.
I don't think it's to any end to help Leo. I think he's doing it to see if Leo can catch him.
I don't know. I was just thinking about how fucking unfollowable this podcast is to someone who hasn't seen this movie, because we've just been throwing out fucking names in like a never-ending thought exercise.
We've also been alternating between their real names and their character names. So
this podcast is more inscrutable than this movie, and that's an accomplishment.
Well, that's fitting though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Tom has been playing this game for a while, and it just finally came to a head.
But my point is that Tom doesn't give a shit about Verna. He was just having a relationship with her so that he could reveal that as an ace in the hole and get her the fuck out of the situation, because Leo would respond to being cheated on just like he did initially and kick her out.
Yeah.
And I think I think he wanted a way to have Verna kicked out of the equation, and did that by having a relationship with her, even though he clearly didn't give a shit about her. So I think the affair with Verna was totally calculated, so he'd have a way to kick her out of the scenario, because he clearly doesn't actually like her. That was my point.
So, but then it would be he'd be killing her by slitting his own throat, essentially. Though, because
I think
there's no way they wouldn't both be out. It does give him power over her, but
Tom has a lot more history with Leo than she does,
right? And he's more valuable.
And he's more valuable to the business. So even if he outed them both, odds are now he forgives both of them because Leo's an idiot eventually in the actual movie. But I think Tom's thinking is that if he outs them both, Verna's gone for sure, and he'll probably be forgiven by Leo because he has history and because he's valuable. But Verna would be fucked, like officially out, like just gone. He would no longer view her as like a romantic interest if she was cheating on him.
Yeah.
But he ends up finding out that Leo's an idiot and he's too forgiving, and maybe Tom makes a decision at the very end to get out and tell Leo to go fuck himself, because he no longer has respect for him, because he not only forgave Tom, he forgave Verna too.
I feel I
don't know.
I feel like there's also some sort of commentary here. Casper and Leo are both idiots, but the Dane and Tom are not, and they're the right-hand men. They're the ones running everything, it seems. I feel like there's some kind of commentary about people in power there.
Yeah, that the people in the shadows that don't get the respect are actually making the decisions that matter.
Yeah.
And should be getting the respect, even though,
because
and they're also
Casper,
the first people to get screwed over.
Casper's not any more capable than Leo.
No.
He's more loud.
He was placed in a position that snowballed into having power, because like I think there's some conversations between Tom and Leo early on where Tom is like criticizing Leo as well for putting Casper in a position to challenge him.
Right.
Because he has not been restricting his ability to gain more power and like gain more territory. They're kind of vague in like what power they have.
You just get the feeling that there's been this push and pull between them for years, but it's been largely peaceful.
And it's been peaceful, and everyone is in place purely on reputation.
We don't
not
tune
because...
in to the movie until the critical moment, right? When this could lead to a gang war.
Yeah.
He gave me the hi-hat.
Gave me the. Did you give me the hi-hat? I love the way he says it every time too. It's so good. But I just wanted to say I have not been trying to like present my arguments as being concrete, just explaining the reasoning behind them being potential reads, because I think you and I are both on the same page as far as like for 99% of this movie there is no concrete read to it, and that's intentional, because they want everything to be like able to be contradicted both through thought exercise, which this 90-minute podcast that hasn't explained shit has proven, and also through direct conversation with the characters. Especially Tom, because Tom will never know what he fucking wants, or if he's even happy at the end of it, or if he's miserable, and I can't fucking tell.
So, okay, something just occurred to me. So we've been talking about Tom and his actions, and we can't find any underlying reason for them to be happening. We've also mentioned a couple of times that there's probably some sort of metaphor at the end of the movie that we're not picking up on. What if the metaphor is that the Coens are doing to us what Tom is doing to Casper and Leo just because they fucking can, and we didn't
Right.
realize it?
Yeah.
What if
Yeah,
the Coens are playing with us the way Tom was playing with everybody else?
that is 1000% something they would do, because they're just weird like that, and they like being a troll.
Yeah.
Especially with the ending of No Country for Old Men, because like as much as I love that movie, the ending of it is kind of a troll, because they set up the ending of a movie and they don't have the ending at all.
I think they're just bad at endings.
But yeah, but it's also
I think they're
like
just good at disguising it.
But it's also like calculated, and like the decision to potentially piss people off en masse is interesting by itself, because most directors don't have the audacity to like just not have a fucking ending.
Right.
And that is ballsy enough that it makes it interesting in its own right, but it's also like you can only pull that card so many times, you know? I don't know. I don't fucking know, dude. But I do like this movie more having tried to like analyze it. But I just don't know how much there is to be like the only like metaphor that I think is on Front Street enough to like be concrete is the hat in the wind, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And how like there's an ongoing thing that people pick up on that I've seen, to where when people have like their hat on, they're in control, and when they don't, that's like for instance, like when Tom gets punched 5,000 times, what are they handing him?
Yeah.
They're handing him his hat. When he gets punched, loses the hat again. So it's like the ending of the movie shows him putting on his hat. He secures it. I think that's the last shot of the movie, is him securing his hat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like at the very end, when he's outside of all the bullshit, he has control, and he's no longer like the hat flailing in the wind. But is he happy? Because he seems to have been enjoying the game and enjoying the chaos.
But he ruined his life doing it.
But he ruined his life doing it, and now he's pissed off everybody and has no one to like go back to. But he could go back to Leo, who will probably forgive him again, even though he's been a dick. I don't fucking know. This is one of like those movies to where I couldn't for the life of me tell you where the story goes from here. Like usually you can kind of like have an inclination of like, if they made a sequel, this is like how the story or characters could continue. I don't fucking know. Like, what do you think? Like, what does Tom do after this movie? I don't fucking know.
I don't know. I assume he can't stay in town at this point. So like I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, it's like,
which
it's so
again,
weird to have
if the ending is a metaphor, think about what Tom's got nothing, nowhere to go, nothing he can do, and then the movie just cutting right there. Like that also works there as well, because that's exactly what Tom just did to himself. He just cut everything when he did that, when this movie took place. So
yeah,
it's like, I don't know, man.
It's like he has control, but at what cost? And like, did he get what he wanted, but not like what he actually wanted? You know,
yeah.
Like, did he finally realize at the end, like, this chaos was like what gave his life
meaning
and made him like be able to react at all, because he's clearly like fucking dead inside.
And so there's so
like,
many moments when he's sitting there across from people that want to kill him that he's just smiling while talking.
Yeah.
It really, again, I know I keep saying this, but it's the only other thing I can think of that makes sense. My two theories are just that he's just like Verna and Bernie. He just doesn't realize it, so he thinks he's better than them, but he's not. The other thing I keep going back to in my head that also makes this movie make sense and ties up everything is there is an inner monologue that was cut from the movie that we just don't get to hear.
I don't know.
Other than that, this movie's great. I just don't know why it happened. I don't know. and again, we haven't even talked about how Bernie ends, because that scene is a
Is
really big moment for Tom.
yeah, like so the first thing that Tom does is let Bernie live, and as soon as
And
like
it bites
Bernie
him.
has as soon as
And when
Bernie turns right around to screw him over,
and when
then
that happens,
yeah.
when Bernie shows up and screws him over, Tom seems genuinely surprised. Like this was a possibility he did not foresee. Again,
Dude,
like he's playing the
when
game for the love of the game.
how crazy is that scene too when Bernie leaves the room and he fucking ninjas his way down the side of the building and then gets stripped by him?
And
Like,
gets outplayed by Bernie,
yeah.
which is important because he knows that's what will happen if he sends Casper in.
And at that point he realizes that Bernie is an asshole, but he's competent. Like
Yes.
he's a fucking two-faced son of a bitch, but he's competent and he's not an idiot.
Yes.
Yeah, Bernie, dude, Turturro is so fucking good in this movie, and that character is really great. His turn when he
You
has
didn't tell
that
anybody
phone call
about
with
that,
him,
did you?
that like his phone calls that he has with Tom are so fucking good,
Yeah.
and just crazy fucking good acting, like all around. Such a good bit of like ensemble casting and performances by everybody, and like they're playing into the 1920s tropes, but they're not being parodies unless that's what the scene calls for, like with the scenes with the police captain we talked about.
Yeah.
You know, like that it's legitimately fun.
The there's also a bit of cinematography that is in the noir and gangster genre that they do really well in this, and that is the two moments in the movie with John Turturro when he's walking towards the camera with the gun, not Turturro but Tom, where he's got the hat and the coat, and he's got the straight posture, but his elbows bent at 90 degrees with the gun, and he's just
Yeah,
walking, and it's that upwards angle from Turturro's perspective at him.
it's really good.
They do that again the second time also when Bernie realizes he's been outplayed by Tom.
That's a really satisfying moment too.
Yeah.
At the end.
Dude, if you're going for the king, don't miss, right? Like he fucked up going for Tom. And the first time at Miller's Crossing, the entire time he's saying, no, look in your heart. I'm praying to you. Look in your heart. And one of my favorite lines in the movie after Bernie fucks Tom over and he sends Casper in, and ironically Bernie gets what he wants by killing Casper, but he thought it was going to be Tom coming at him or whatever. And he was like, good job, right? Because I didn't see that coming. And then Tom fucks over Bernie, and we go back to instantly I'm praying to you, look in your heart. And this time Tom has no problem killing him. And he just says, what heart? And shoots him in the head.
Because he sees through the bullshit at that point.
Yes.
He knows. I also really like that moment too, because it's a cool callback to how you mentioned Tom not for a second thinking that Bernie would come back to town.
He didn't think Bernie would have the balls, basically.
He didn't for a second think that Bernie would then turn on him after he showed mercy and didn't kill him. And then with what Tom does to fuck over Bernie at the very end by him handing over the gun.
Yes.
Bernie does the same thing. Bernie at that point doesn't for a second think that Tom is going to turn right around and shoot him after he has framed him perfectly.
Right.
He doesn't even pick up on it because he doesn't think Tom has the balls to kill him. But he does because he's fucked him over.
Well, he's betting that Tom can't, right? Because in the woods he couldn't. You can tell he looks like he wants to because he wants to live, but he still can't bring himself to do it. So he fires a shot, waits a while, and fires a second shot, both into the ground. Then, which is always one of my favorite things in movies. I don't think that would ever fool anyone in real life, but I always love that in movies when they just like shoot the ground or something instead and let someone go.
Yeah.
So I really like that scene because it's an important moment for Tom. It tells us a lot about Tom. It tells us about Bernie. It tells us about a little bit of like what Tom's thinking and feeling, and it's one of the few times we get that in the movie. And then the second time around, it's almost identical, but it ends so differently. And if you think about it, again, back to my theory that he is not trying to convince anyone, just it supports my theory in my mind so much. Tom is playing chess, and Casper and the Dane and Leo and Frankie and Tic Tac and Verna and Bernie, they're all pieces on the board. But the one that actively fucked him up, the one that actively fucked him over was Bernie. And that's the one person he killed himself. He did things to get other people killed. He's responsible for that. He didn't do it himself, though. He couldn't. He had no problems icing Bernie, and Bernie is the one that fucked him over and the one he did not foresee. The one possibility he did not foresee.
Yeah.
So,
and is also what potentially could have gotten him killed.
Yeah.
Was showing mercy. Yeah.
Yeah. So he learned the lesson of to be merciless at that point. But it's like he killed a lot of people through other people. The one he did it himself, though, was the guy that nearly fucked up his game. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, but I don't know.
It's pretty cool how it is a gangster movie following a gangster who doesn't really want to kill people.
Yeah,
and that by itself is like an interesting core concept for this character. It's just you have to pick up on that by analyzing the fuck out of the movie because none of it is spoon fed, and that's admirable by itself because it leaves so much up to interpretation. It's just you have to do a lot of the legwork, and like I said, like. When I finished this movie, I didn't really think I liked it, but I like it better in retrospect thinking about it, and I think this would be better on repeat viewings.
Did you watch it on Saturday?
Yes, I watched it Saturday morning.
I watched it Friday night. I wonder how differently this recording would have been had we did it on Saturday and not have a few days to stew about it.
Yeah, that makes sense too, like to really think about it, because it has been kind of like stewing in my mind of just trying to figure out what the fuck this character was about.
Yeah, Normally I watch the movie and then I'm done. And sometimes I think about it here and there, or I'll talk about it with Chris and then we'll record and I'm just kind of done. This movie had such a jarring ending. I haven't stopped thinking about it since I watched it.
It invites like analysis, which is, I think, one of those things that makes the people that love it so much like really grasp onto it, because it actively like beckons you to stew on it for a really long time. Like people have been like, you read some of like the Reddit reviews and stuff. Like I read a couple Reddit reviews of this just to kind of like get a glimpse into what people's kind of like reactions to it. Cause like I said, this movie has like a big reputation to it, especially in like film nerd groups. And my initial reaction to it was like negative and mostly just because I was confused. So I would, like just kind of dabbled on a couple of Reddit threads about it. And you see these people that can like come up with like these like huge thesis reactions that are like similar to like what you and I have been doing. And just kind of like spitballing potential motivations. And I think that's like the strong suit of the movie, even though it's kind of frustrating, is like thinking back on it after a few days or maybe like a rewatch after several years and piecing together your interpretations of like Tom in general and how much of it is intentional, how much of it is him just kind of flailing in the wind. And it's a cool movie. It's a genuinely cool movie.
Yeah, and it's a genuinely good movie. I'm still not a fan of the end, but I like getting to the end. I like everything that leads up to it. I like everything that happens in this movie. And I mean, like we've said a few times now, just to reiterate, the performances alone are worth the price of admission.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's what a crazy ass movie you brought to the table.
I didn't. I'm gonna be honest. I thought this podcast was gonna be like an hour long. I really didn't think we were gonna
talk about.
Because I had a feeling you and I would react to it the same way, of like a little bit of confusion. We kind of did
the more this episode went on.
Yeah, we did for sure. So it's been a fun like thought exercise trying to delve into like I would love to hear an interview with the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
Of them talking about their mindset behind making this, but because of who they are and how weird they are, I bet they wouldn't tell you jack shit. They would just kind of like let you continue stewing on it. But I don't know.
It's also one of those movies that like you can only talk about it with someone that has seen it. There's no way you could explain this movie in any way to someone that they would understand or be able to talk about it. Because, sometimes you can, like, sometimes there's movies that I watch that Chris wasn't interested in watching, but there's something interesting that happened that I'm talking with her about, and those characters and stuff, and we can still have a conversation about it.
Gonna shorthand it, but you can't shorthand this.
There's nothing about this movie. It's a shared experience, man. This is Nom. Like, I'm gonna be flashing back to this movie in my sleep.
there's two. It's just like Lebowski in how it's super simple and super intricate at the same time.
Yeah.
No Country for Old Men is also very simple while also being very intricate at the same time, and that is a staple of them. And it's an impressive thing to be able to have this movie where this movie is all about a gangster
who is double crossing.
He's a gangster who is double crossing two different mob bosses, essentially. But it would take you an hour to explain the intricate like twists and turns and like how the movie progresses. And I also like that it's not a very long movie. It's only like an hour and 45 minutes. It's like,
I thought it was right around 2 hours. I could be wrong.
This could easily have been like a
hour
2.5 hour.
Yeah.
This could have been like a 2 hour and 40 minute like crime boss epic. Like I feel like a lot of people try to do like with these types of movies, they like make them too long. So I like that it's a bit shorter too.
Yeah.
But, I think I'm gonna set my piece on it. I feel like if we continue, we kind of just like, treading water and kind of talking in circles.
Yeah, as I say, we're just gonna be retreading here.
I've kind of set my piece on it though. I liked it. Was bamboozled by the ending, but like it better after having talked about it. So like, did you have any kind of like final?
It's
thoughts
appropriate you keep using bamboozle because that infers you got conned, and that's what Tom is doing.
I got conned by Tom.
I really think this movie's about the Coens conning us. I really think that's the impetus behind this movie. It was like, can we just tell the audience what we're doing to them and them never figure out that that's what we were doing to them?
It's funny how the audience walks away just like Leo.
Yeah.
Of being bamboozled as fuck, and it's like, didn't you do this to help me? Oh, you didn't? You're just a dick? Why? Oh, you're not gonna say anything? Okay, goodbye. And that's the way the movie ends. And you walk away from Tom just like Leo does, of just why?
Yeah. There is two things I want to mention that I honestly kind of forgot about till now. You were talking about the hat being a stand-in or a metaphor for control. When he's in control, and like at the end of the movie, he not only puts on the hat finally, but secures it.
Mm-hmm.
The movie opens with him having lost his hat and having to go get it back from Verna.
Well, the very first shot is like a imagery from his dream of the hat drifting through the woods, and he can never get it.
Right.
Yeah, and then he has to get his hat back from
But
Verna,
like the first time we're meeting the characters and stuff.
Yeah,
he's lost his hat and he has to go get it back from Verna. So that's interesting symbolism there. That's what I was looking for. Not metaphor, also, symbolism.
And it's also all the stuff with the hat is also made more concrete by the hi-hat line.
Yeah.
Because of how many times he says the hi-hat line, it gets you in the thinking of like the hats are important to the symbolism of the movie.
Yeah. And then
I appreciate that doesn't become annoying, because if they had done it more, it could have become annoying of like blatant like I don't like too much blatant symbolism.
I don't like too many hats in my movie.
I think Christopher Nolan sometimes does too much blatant symbolism that drives me crazy. So I like that this doesn't go too far down that path.
I always kind of feel like Tarantino does that too sometimes.
Tarantino does it a lot too, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the other thing, I'm sitting here on the IMDb page and it keeps showing this little clip shot of what is it called here? 5 Forgotten Gems from 1990. And it's just been kind of playing on loop along with the trailer for Miller's Crossing while we've been sitting here. And I totally forgot about the kid finding Rug and stealing the toupee.
Oh yeah, and that was like a thing that kept making people confused throughout the movie, even though it was a non-detail.
Yeah,
that's a good call, because that's also kind of tying into some of the questions of the movie. Is like you and I, just like we've been within this conversation, you get caught up in the details so much to the point to where it's like it could just be a non-factor, like the toupee stealing is.
Well,
like they're so hung up on it.
The thing I was gonna go through though is think about the toupee being stolen off of the dead guy's body. and then bring it back to the symbolism of the hat you brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's interesting to think about also.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, you could tie
Because
that
it's a
in.
form of hat. It goes on top of your head.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. That's just the two things I wanted to point out was the hat at the beginning of the movie. He has to go get it from Verna. So there's symbolism there. She has the control because she has his hat, and then the symbolism of the toupee from the dead guy.
It's like all throughout the movie too.
Yeah,
with stuff with the hat. If you think about it, I picked up on some of the hat stuff when I watched it, and then I picked up on a bit more, just kind of like casually browsing through a couple of like Reddit conversations about this movie to try to like get more into the mindset of like people's positive reactions to it, because mine was a more of confusion.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's interesting. That ending though is really weird. But yeah, was that your final?
That was my final thing I wanted to bring up. When you first brought up the symbolism of the hat, it popped into my head, and then we just got lost in the conversation, and I forgot to bring it up. But I wanted to mention it before we switch hats, Jeff. From review to plugs.
Yeah, if you would like to follow the show more, you can find us on Twitter at SPR Filmcast, where you can follow us for show updates. Any ratings or reviews on whichever platform you happen to find us on always helps us out. Please share us out to your friends. I'm sure you know somebody that would like to hear us babble about a fucking detective movie. Please have seen this movie before you listen to this.
Oh my god, I don't even know if it would help though, to be honest.
It probably wouldn't, but like this had to have been excruciating to anyone who hasn't seen this movie, because it's just nonsense. It's just hats on hats on hats on hats.
Let us know if this was excruciating, Bobby, because you're the madman I know that listens to us without having watched the movies.
I didn't watch the movie. I lived it.
My God.
If you have any questions or comments that you would like read at the beginning of the next show by Ron and myself, you can drop that in the YouTube comments or email us at screenplayrewind@gmail.com. And the final bit of business, Ron, what are we covering next time?
Well, it's interesting. Oh my god, I just thought I was about to say something and it made something else pop into my head too. The first time that we see Casper, the Dane is holding his hat. And then the Dane hands him the hat and he puts it on. Anyways.
It's like he's the one who's actually in control.
Yeah, because I was going to say, well, now that you've given me the hat.
Casper's just the front. Yeah.
That is what I was about to say. And then that image at the beginning popped into my head. God damn.
It's pretty cool.
I feel like we could write a whole paper about the hat now. Anyways, I don't feel like we need to watch the movie now. I feel like we've covered this movie I was about to have us do in this review as well. But my pick is The Big Lebowski.
Nice.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna pick Johnny Dangerously.
I really wanted to. Really wanted to. But yeah, we're talking about The Big Lebowski came up a lot in this podcast, and I love it. And you were like, "Man, I could talk for hours about The Big Lebowski. I got to get it on the show at some point." And I'm like, "Brother, I have something to tell you."
So had you already planned to pick that?
Yeah, I was gonna pick it on Saturday.
Nice. That's funny. I thought yeah, I was almost like for sure you're gonna pick Johnny Dangerously. So
I really wanted to.
Yeah, I got that vibe that you really wanted to
I really wanted to, but I was like, not yet.
Not yet.
Make them wait. Just hold the hat a little longer.
Lebowski is just man. I don't even know how to begin. I love that movie so much, and I can't even begin to even like think about where the conversation will go with that, because it's the Big Lebowski, and like we talked about, it is both simple as fuck and also crazy intricate for no good reason other than it's amazing.
The only thing that I know too is like, God damn it, dude, I already wanted to go bowling. I don't know that I can watch this movie and not go bowling.
Think about transitioning to seeing John Turturro in Lebowski after seeing him in this too. Nobody fucks with it, Jesus.
Oh, I can't wait.
I'm just envisioning him when they open up with him when he's just fucking around with the bowling ball, getting ready. It's so goddamn genius. I love it so much.
And John Goodman.
Yeah.
Have we had John Goodman on the show yet?
If we have it, we got to end the show because that's unacceptable.
I don't know that we have, because I was thinking we covered at least Kong Skull Island, but we haven't covered it yet, right?
I don't think we have. We also should have covered the Cloverfield movies by now, at least the first two, and that would have been a good
That
one.
is in my very short list. That is, I was considering it or Lebowski, and I went for Lebowski, so it was almost Cloverfield.
I feel like we gotta have a Cloverfield month and cover the first two movies. Just
because I've been
eventually.
hankering for a good monster movie too.
Yeah,
That's a good kaiju film.
Yeah, Cloverfield 1's awesome, and 10 Cloverfield Lane's even better.
God, you want to watch something just for the performances? 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Man, John Goodman's so goddamn awesome. I love him so much.
And Mew. Don't forget Mew.
Can't forget Mew. Big Lebowski is streaming on Peacock.
Yep, and it's rentable in all the usual places.
Yeah, or if you it looks like if you have Stars through Apple, it's on subs through there too.
Yep, or Fandango at home. Everybody just about has Fandango at home. Who doesn't?
Everybody uses Fandango.
Everyone uses Fandango.
Everybody uses Fandango.
But I think my personal favorite is Microsoft. That's where I'm going to watch it.
Oh, and just a little side programming note. After The Big Lebowski, we will be doing our Friends and Family Month throughout the kind of latter half of April, and have a few weeks where we do back-to-back episodes, 4 of which will be picked not by Ron and myself, and half of it is probably going to be torture. I think you already have one in the pipeline that you said was going to be pretty rough, right?
Yep.
Chris has picked.
Yep.
Can't wait. My favorite time of the year when I get subjected to potentially good movies and nonsense.
I am so afraid of Soapy and Bobby.
It's always exciting and terrifying.
Yes, and usually a good time. And those episodes usually run shorter too because we're pulling double shifts. So.
How funny is it to kind of transition into Friends and Family Month after having all the hat conversations about lost control?
Right.
Friends and Family Month is the symbolism of the hat flailing through the wind.
It's literally us taking off our hat and just passing it around the room before it comes back.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's pretty fitting. So we couldn't have picked this movie to bamboozle us at a more perfect time. And with that, thanks for listening to this Inscrutable podcast, everybody.
Also a good episode title.
This Inscrutable podcast is a solid title. Have a good night, everybody. Don't lose your hat.
So the hat symbolism, when you first brought it up, do you want to know what the first thing that popped in my head was?
What's up?
The times that Indiana Jones loses his hat and it comes back.
Oh, yeah.
And then the symbolism of him taking off the hat and putting it on somebody else's head, or the dude putting it on his head at the beginning of Last Crusade.
Which one was it where he had to staple it onto his head to get it to stay on during the scene? I don't know if you ever heard that, but he actually literally had to staple the hat on.
Oh my god!
I think it was Raiders. I think it's one of the chase sequences at the end of Raiders, but he literally stapled the hat on because it kept falling off during the shots.
Oh my god!
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, but like the very, very first thing that popped in my head was, remember the scene when the tank goes over the cliff?
Mm-hmm.
And then he climbs up and he loses his hat right before he goes over the cliff. And then when he's sitting on the ground, they're all walking away like, come on, let's go. We got to go. That wind just blows the hat back to him.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing that popped in my head when you brought up the hat symbolism. I was like, oh my God. Like my brain just exploded. Like, I don't know if you heard it in the episode. I just went silent when you brought up the hat symbolism.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh my God, my whole life has been a lie. Like, my daughter wore one of my hats to school. What does this mean?
The symbolism, man.
Oh God. Sometimes the door is red, but sometimes the hat has to be stapled on and there's symbolism there.